Hey guys, today I want to talk about iOS 11, including the latest 11.3, and some of the current features, settings, and options within the operating system that just really make no sense whatsoever. I think you will agree that when I'm done with this video, a lot of these things make sense to you. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about this because we're expecting iOS 12 Beta 1 in June, the first beta with WWDC as usual, and I'm hoping that in some way Apple was to see this video and polish up some of these things in iOS that are completely redundant, and you'll see what I mean. Let's begin. So first, let's talk about the lock screen. On the lock screen, we have a camera button right here to press and go to the camera. Why do we have a button to go to the camera on the lock screen when we can just swipe over and go to the camera? We have the same option in the same area pretty much for the lock screen, not being used proper. This is just a waste of time, waste of space. Apple could just pretty much let us assign these buttons to whatever actions we wish, which they probably won't, or at least assign a different action to that particular button. The flash is fine because if you wake up at night, you press it, you have it there accessible. But why do we have the camera twice on the same section of iOS? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. One thing I hope Apple fixes with iOS 12 is the battery percentage displayed on the top right here instead of the battery icon. Right now I can kind of guess what my battery is. I think it's somewhere around 70, but if I swipe down it's 79, not too far off, but a number would be better than an indicator. That battery icon can pretty much be a number, and it's a better bet to just know how your battery is doing. Another thing I did want to touch up on is that Apple should allow us within the battery settings to change that option. So if we prefer the icon instead of the percentage, give us the toggle, at least on the iPhone 10 of course, to change that, because the lack of widgets don't allow for the percentage to show on the status bar on iPhone 10, not on all other devices of course. Now another thing is the battery widget. A lot of people ask about this widget, and if you have an Apple Watch, you'll get this widget in your panels here. Now if Apple doesn't allow us to have the percentage up here, why not allow people to just simply have this widget? At least it compensates for not having the percentage up there. You can just swipe to the left quickly and see the battery percentage. But unless you have an Apple Watch, you won't be able to see this widget display on your widget section here on your iOS device. Now this is one of my biggest issues with iOS. When you have an incoming call, you can either decline, accept, send a message, or a reminder. But you can't swipe that notification away without the other person knowing that you pretty much ignored the call. That's not a good thing. Not only that, but you can't do that while the device is locked or while the device is unlocked. Apple should give us the option to just swipe away a phone call without having to completely ignore the person, so it doesn't show on their end that you've pretty much ignored the call. It should be a notification. Even so, if we go into notifications here, this is so hilarious. If we go into notifications here and we go to the phone options here for notifications, you see this temporary and persistent notifications. Temporary banner will appear on the top of the screen, automatically go away. That doesn't really happen with phone. So why is this option even showing up here? We also have, of course, the persistent and other, notification options here, but this will be ideal. Apple is even showing us in notifications how it should be. A notification comes down, you see the phone call, then you swipe it away, and that's it, but doesn't really tell the other person that you've ignored it. You're just letting it ring in the background and not having to deal with it at the moment. And at the same time, you don't make the other person feel bad because you just kind of send them to voicemail. So Apple, just get it right. These settings within phone and the phone call screen and incoming calls, just the whole thing just doesn't make a lot of sense. Your settings within notifications don't make sense with the actions performed by your own iPhone. Now with the iPhone 10, if we go over to general and then we go to accessibilities and we go to side button, which is going to be this button here, the Siri button. So if you press and hold, of course we're going to get Siri. You have the ability to also send it to voice controls or off. So if we set it to off, then this button just becomes a sleep wake button. Okay, so it doesn't perform any other action. So if you long press, we don't get back the slide to power off, which would be a great idea. So if Apple decided that give us an additional option right here where it says, slide to power off instead for a long hold of the side button, a lot of people may rather use the Siri command to invoke Siri and the long press to power off, because I'm sure a lot of you guys, as I have on the iPhone 10, has pressed the side button to slide to power off, and then Siri pops up, and then you have to remember, oh yeah, it's two buttons at the same time to get this function now. So if they would just give us the long press of the side button and options here to select slide to power off instead of Siri or voiceover or voice control, whatever they want to call it, it would be great to be able to remap that button for that particular function. We always have the Hey Siri command to get Siri to activate on our devices. So just kind of having a long press here for Siri, in some cases it's cool, but some cases redundant. Some people may want to do that just by using their voice. And last but not least, I want to talk about Control Center. And God, this one needs a lot of work. So Control Center is invoked, at least on the iPhone 10, on the top right of the screen. Okay, so it's very uncomfortable to use one-handed. It's not comfortable at all. Apple should allow the ability to invoke Control Center using different actions, different methods. They can come up with something that's a little better than swiping up on the top right. Maybe a card, additional card here to the multitasking or the app switcher there. That also would be cool. Or I don't know, any other gesture that doesn't require going all the way to the top of the screen. I think it's just a little bit annoying in some cases for one-handed use. Now, another thing about Control Center is I like this layout. I really do. There's only one problem. Apple doesn't allow us to relocate any of these widgets up at the top where we want. Yes, we can move these ones in the bottom to wherever we want. We can't move the ones in the top. And I know it can get a little messy if you allow users to do that, but at least give users the option. And not only that, I have so many people ask me, where did AirPlay or AirDrop go? And I have to say, long press, and you'll see it. Not the average user will not remember that you have to long press or even know that you have to long press to bring up AirDrop. Okay, so it's just hitting. Maybe bring these tiles and make them bigger or find a different method to apply this, because you can see Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, your carrier, and then you also have the airplane mode. But people will not put two and two together. I mean, it's been a question that I've been asked so many times. Where's AirDrop? And I have to point it out. It's right there, especially with AirDrop. So those are some of my little rants and little things within iOS 11, and including the latest 11.3 that I think Apple should definitely polish up in the future, and look forward to bringing a better experience with iOS 12. A separate video on some of the new features that I'm hoping to see with iOS 12, and a list of features that I want for iOS 12. That video will be coming your way in a few weeks, closer to the first release of the beta for iOS 12 this summer. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts? Do you think some of these are valid options or valid things that I'm mentioning? Let me know what you would like Apple to change of iOS. It's been iDevice Help, and I'll see you real soon. Peace.